Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, and every other superhero that's ever walked, tunneled, or flown through the streets has ended up here in my hometown, New York City. Yeah, this town's been leveled about 5 million times in comics, but it still keeps on ticking, and that's why I love it. I'm Nick, and I'll be giving you the rundown of everything about comics. This week, I'll be focusing in on horror comics, but I'm not alone on my quest. There are others.
Yes, there are. I'm Shashi, and I'm here at Wednesday's house in Santa Monica, California, the land of swimming pools, movie stars, comic book heroes who've become movie stars, and all sorts of other great escapes from reality. And you know, we all need to escape from reality sometimes. I know I do. That's why on this week's show, we're gonna take you on the ultimate escape, a virtual reality machine called the Exotron.
All right, I'm Phil, standing in front of the Alternate Gravity comic book store on Queen Street here in Toronto. I'll be taking a look at a CD-ROM game called Club Dead, as well as maybe meeting some creatures of the night. Now stand by, it's time for the anti-gravity room.
So this is it, huh?
The beginning of everything.
Pretty cool, huh?
So what happens now?
I guess we get going.
I'm ready, and I'm pumped.
Let's just start this thing. Were you guys talking about VR or something?
All right, we're here at Cybermind, a virtual arcade in the CN Tower in the middle of downtown Toronto. The tallest freestanding structure in the world. And we're talking about virtual reality. Virtual reality has been around a lot longer than I have. MIT was doing projects with it back in the 60s.
Discharge. Discharge.
NASA, the military, they trained their fighter pilots and their astronauts with it. In the 80s, authors Rudy Rucker, William Gibson, they predicted cyberspace, melding the mind with the machine. Now, although they didn't do well, movies like Tron and Dreamscape, they created the virtual reality buzz. There's marketing for you. Around the turn of the decade, VR really took off. Soon everybody was making virtual reality gloves and goggles. In 1992, W Industries built these machines here, the first entertainment-only virtual reality consoles. All right, in the early 90s, VR made a big push. It was everywhere, movies, TVs, books, but it got too big too fast. Now, VR's making something more practical. The equipment's gotten smaller, VR's gotten bigger, the dream just refuses to die. Chris Altair is a big guy with a big dream. Shashi went to check out the Exotron at his San Diego home. Shashi was Project X.
Chris Altair is the guy who came up with this thing. Chris is the type of guy who likes to tinker with machines and play with old cars. Chris came up with the Exotron by combining the Orbitron ride with a virtual reality system. Chris hopes that someday, hundreds of Exotrons will be up and spinning in malls all over the world. Wow, I don't have one of these in my front yard.
Well, this is our newest creation. It's an Exotron VR. It's done in conjunction with Gold Star Corporation, Panasonic, 3DO, Electronic Arts, and it's a wireless, full 360 non-motorized virtual reality system. We also have a motorized system that's running with 1-800-COLLECT. But this is one of the only ones in the world right here.
And in case you're colorblind, it's neon. It's very bright.
That's correct.
So, can I get on and go for a ride?
And that's your head mount that's hanging down there. The control handles up here are where you're going to be holding. Okay. These control handles are made by CH
Ken
products.
is my own little Vanna White, you know? Bye, everyone. I feel like Tom Hanks from Apollo 13. That's what I'm getting from this. I think he was paid more, though. I have to say, I'm not completely sold on the Exotron or on virtual reality. I mean, in virtual reality, the lines are all plain and angular, and it's just too simple. You know, the virtual world actually makes the real world rather appealing. You know, Ken is real. The rest is merely virtual. try an at-home version of virtual reality. Try this. Take your hands and push them up against your eyeballs, and you'll start to see stars and solar systems. Wow, I see the Griffith Park Observatory right there in my forehead. You see, now that's virtual reality.
Ready for a little scare? Seems like the perfect time of year to be looking into the world of horror comics. Although characters like Red Skull, the Spectre, and Dr. Occult have been haunting comics since 1940, the first series of horror comics didn't come out till 1946. Yo, that's almost as old as my dad. That's the year Bailey Publications started with 2 titles, Spook Comics and Eerie Magazines. By the early 50s, the horror market was exploding with dozens of titles. Most of these were copies of the EC Comics formula. EC was the publisher responsible for titles like Crypt of Terror, later known as Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, and Haunt of Fear. There's one word to describe There's one word to describe EC Comics style: gory. EC's panels were packed with pretty graphic violence, and readers were loving every minute of it. That's when Dr. Frederick Wardham decided to put his foot down. Listen up as Shashi fills us in.
In 1954, a doctor published a book called Seduction of the Innocent. He claimed that horror comics were ruining the moral fiber of our nation's children. We can't have that now, can we? The government held a series of hearings, and when the smoke cleared, the comics publishers had adopted the Comics Code. This was a strict set of guidelines that completely wiped out all traces of crime, horror, violence, and sex in comics.
Thanks, Shashi. In 1956, EC stopped printing all their horror titles. Thanks to the code, many of the horror comics had become suspense or fantasy titles, which led to the creation of some of the most famous superheroes ever. In 1964, Warren Publishing started a black and white magazine of monster comic stories called Creepy. To get around the code, it was called a magazine. In 1969, Warren Publishing introduced a new title that would add a little spice to the horror genre. That title was Vampirella. Hey!
Hey, Nick!
It's Vampirella herself. I was just talking about the history of horror comics.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, how do you know?
Because I read the script.
In 1971, the popularity of Vampirella, that would be me, spurred publishers to bring out scary monsters again. By 1972, monsters were back and scarier than ever.
Marvel had Tomb of Dracula and recycled 50 stories like Chamber of Chills. DC had spooky horror tales like Swamp Thing and Phantom Stranger. By 1974, there were 6 different publishers putting out 40 different monster titles.
By the late 70s, early 80s, the popularity of monsters decreased. And by 1983, Warren Publishers closed its doors.
But another wave of horror titles was just around the corner. Titles such as Hellblazer and a newly revised Swamp Thing clearly led directly to the creation of DC's Vertigo line. Costumes are a big thing in horror. Where would Dracula be without his cape, or Frankenstein without his neck bolt thingies? And costumes are never more important than at one of my favorite times of the year, Halloween. But the question is, what are you gonna be?
This year for Halloween, I'm going to be a Harlequin with my friend Megan, and so we're going to paint our faces all white and then we're half white and half black.
I'm going to be Yoko Ono.
And I'm going to be John.
I'm probably going to be an alien. My dad has to make me these latex ears to make me look like Spock.
I'll probably dress up as some kind of 70s person, disco outfit with an afro or something, have a lot of fun.
Well, I think this Halloween I'll be Woody Allen and... Oh, cool, I'll be Satchel.
This year I'm going to be Bunnicula, the vampire bunny. And I think it's going to be really funny because I'm going to be like a little bunny with bunny ears, except with a cape and fangs. So, since I have fangs, my teeth.
In upcoming shows, you'll be able to participate in these surveys too. So hang on till the end of the show to find out the questions.
It's time for the Anti-Gravity Man.
Coming up next, an interview with some vampires. But first, check out this Anti-Gravity Man cartoon as drawn by Jeff Darrow.
I am Stan Lee, one of the stars of Mallrats, and you lucky people, are watching the Anti-Gravity Room.
Boom! All right, we're back. And this is the time in the show where I get to review the games people play. And right now we're playing on CD-ROM, Club Dead. Ooh. Now this is a really cool game. The first thing I noticed when I downloaded it, and I downloaded it, baby, I'm computer literate. I noticed the graphics. Fully rendered, G. It's like Reboot. Check this out. Now basically what it is you're playing this guy, Sam Frost. And what he is, he's a cyber plumber. And he just got let out of prison.
Yeah.
Feels darn good, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And he has to find out who's killing people at a posh resort called Alexandria. The kind of posh resort that I think Shashi probably stay at and not pay the room bill. Now the basic thing here is stay alive and find out who's killing who. It's a right-on game, and I give it a 3 on the gravity scale. On the anti-gravity scale, I give it a 3. Now 3 G's is right before you throw up, so that's good. And Beast likes it too. Okay, what's going on, and who are you?
My name's Dan, and you're at the Vampire the Masquerade.
All right, rule number 1. When someone tells you you're at a Vampire Masquerade, make sure you know what you're getting into. Well, what is the Vampire Masquerade?
The Vampire Masquerade is a live-action role-playing game that we like to hold about once a month.
Who's we? And make sure you ask all the right questions.
It's basically a murder mystery party where we set up the rules, we set up the mystery, and we set up the plot. You come and you play a vampire, and you deal with all the vampire politics. It's produced by White Wolf.
So there's an actual storyline and characters and everything?
There's a storyline that I create, but there's a world that White Wolf creates.
Ooh, so it's something I could do, right?
Yes.
Beware of the smooth charm of the vampire. Remember, their bite is worse than their bark. Let's check out the game. Be gentle. How's it going?
Weird things going on tonight.
So it brings you here.
Don't know what's going on.
Do not try my patience.
So if you're at a Vampire Masquerade and the host asks you if you're having a good time and you're not, lie.
Die, vampire scum!
And if you're at a Vampire Masquerade and you're gonna die, ham it up and make it good.
What's up? Welcome to Comicopia, my review of the latest comics. This week we'll be focusing on horror comics, and as always, we're coming to you from the 4Color Images Gallery here in wonderful New York City. First off, we have Industrial Gothic, the chilling vertigo tale of a woman who has everything. Everything, of course, except arms and legs. It's not for everybody. It's definitely got some graphic stuff in there, so I'd say if you're into that weird kind of sick horror stuff, definitely check it out. Next we have Devilman. This was originally a manga title, but now it's been reformatted for Verotic Comics. It's got some great Japanese art in there, and I definitely say check it out. It's a little disturbing once again, but what isn't? And lastly, for our smut book of the week, Lady Death has pretty cool art by Stephen Hughes. I'm kind of a fan of his work. It features scantily clad women battling over the fate of the world. Cool stuff. And lastly, we have Hellblazer. Hey, we got a phone call. Hello? Yeah? Yeah? Shannon Doherty. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll be there.
Nick went behind the scenes of Mallrats, where he talked to director Kevin Smith and star Shannon Doherty and Stan Lee about the influence comic books played in making this movie.
Stan, how did you get involved with Mallrats?
Kevin Smith, the director, was saying that he wanted somebody to play a comic strip idol, a comic book idol. And he wondered who to get. And Jim Jacks, the producer, said, gee, I'm friends with Stan Lee. And he said, would you be interested in him? And I understand Kevin said, gee, do you think we could get him? Not realizing what a ham I am. So the minute Jim Jack said, hey, Stan, would you be interested in, before he finished the sentence, I said, where do I go? When do I start?
Now, are you playing the real Stan Lee or an idolized version?
I'm not sure what the real Stan Lee is. I'm playing a version of Stan Lee. I have a beard in this thing, which I don't normally have. And I'm very gentle and soft-spoken, and I give a lot of advice, which I don't normally do. So I'm probably better than I am in real life in the movie, if you can imagine me being better.
Oh, here you are now, a legend in the field. Probably had a slew of women since her, am I right?
Oh, lots of women. Jagger and me, we had a running contest to see who had the most. Matter of fact, last time I looked, I was way ahead.
Damn, that's hot!
Mallrats isn't just, you know, on comics. It's about relationships, too. So, yeah, women will definitely tune into it and get it immediately.
Was this a breath of fresh air for you?
A refreshing breath.
Ah.
Absolutely.
Some cool people in this movie.
Some very cool people in this movie, right? You saw it?
Oh, yeah.
You liked it?
Loved it.
I'm a girl, damn it! I want to do girly things like fix at someone's hair, get phone calls expressing romantic sentiments!
I call you all the time!
Renee, my mom's asleep. Come over. You call that romantic? When was the last time you pulled out my chair or told me I was beautiful?
And this guy does all this in the span of a day.
This guy already introduced me to his mother.
Really?
The character in the movie Silent Bob seems to be a cross between Harpo Marx and the Tick. Was he based on anybody specific?
No, but I mean, it's definitely, there's a Harpo influence there, particularly with like the jacket, pulling stuff out of the jacket. You know, like there always seems to be something going on.
As a follow-up to Mallrats, which comic character would you most like to bring to the silver screen?
You know, I would love to do an adaptation of either Grendel or Mage, the two Matt Wagner books. I think that'd be great. Or I'd like to see Green Arrow get done. I don't know if I'm the man to do it, but, you know, I think Grendel would be something I'd love to do.
What comic character do I look like?
Do you look like? If we can get you green, Changeling.
Cool. All right.
Or it'd put you in, like, the spandex wet, you'd be Garth, man, Aqualad.
Sounds good to me.
Is Nick a supermodel? You be the judge.
Hey, are you Lori?
Nick, hi.
Yeah.
How are you? I watch your show all the time.
Oh, that's great. Do you know what's going on here? Because they told me to come down here and meet somebody named Lori. I mean...
Oh, you don't know what you're here for?
No.
Hon, I do love your show, but you need help with your fashion sense, and that's what I'm here to help you do.
What do you mean?
Give you a whole makeover. You're going to love it.
I like my T-shirts, though.
Oh, no. We're going to get you a whole new wardrobe. You don't like that. You're going to love it when you're done. Come on, get in there. You'll love it.
Okay, Lori, why do I need to do this?
Well, hon, what do you think of when you get up and you get dressed?
I just try to make sure my, clothes aren't really grungy.
Well, you need to think about more. You need to think about the show being very groovy, very hip, very superhero. And so you should have elements of that in the clothes that you wear, on camera and off camera. You should look really fabulous.
All right, but aren't we kind of in the wrong section? This is kind of like the dress section, you know?
Yeah, you can wear dresses when you get older. So this is what I love about Wasteland. It's a good store to come to because they've got something for everyone.
Oh, that's cool. I used to be a Boy Scout.
Oh, you did? So you'd be comfortable in something like this. That's good. We'll take this. Hats are always great for distinguishing yourself on camera.
Oh, yeah.
Could you wear this?
Oh, yeah. Dork Boy's here.
Oh, okay, so you don't like that. How about, here's something that's a little bit rougher.
Oh, yeah.
Boys always want to look rough and difficult.
100% not guilty, Mr. Ito.
Now, see, Nick, what I really want to see you in is vintage clothing because the colors are really bright and the styles are really unique.
Oh, wait. Didn't I sell this shirt at a garage sale?
Oh, it's still got your initials on it. This would be a radical change for you. I think we should try a classic Hawaiian shirt.
All right.
Oh, my God. Total superhero.
Yeah,
this is very you.
And there you have it, my new made-for-TV identity. Scary, huh? Well, you've heard the survey for this week. In upcoming weeks, we'll be asking you, and you, and you, survey questions that you'll get the chance to answer. Here's the questions.
Which female superhero has the best superpowers and why?
Can you tell the difference between comics for men and comics for women?
What comic would make a great TV show and why?
So help us out. We want to know. Call us with your answers, or you can email us at antigravity@ytv.ca, or send your answers, questions, or comments to the Anti-Gravity Room, care of YTV Canada, 64 Jefferson Avenue, Unit 18, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, M6K 3H3. All right, next week we'll be checking out rock and roll's influence on comic books and
I'll glance at the history and popularity of female superheroes, the most powerful women in comics.
And an interview with Pamela Lee Anderson, woo-hoo, on the Anti-Gravity Room.
Hey, have you ever heard that biting into a candy bar is a lot like falling in love? I don't know if it works, but if it does, I mean, what's the point? After the chocolate wears off, you're right back to where you started. You're right back to yourself again. I don't get it. I don't understand. What's the point of any temporary pleasure, right? Why read a comic book? Why go on a virtual reality ride? I don't get it. Do you guys? I mean, help me out. Maybe you know the answers. Write me a letter in care of the Anti-Gravity Room, and who knows, maybe it'll make a good comic book. Till then, I'll see you next week on the Anti-Gravity Room.
If Steve Austin and Jamie Summers get your pulse racing, keep watching, because we're going to take you one bionic step beyond. Lindsay Wagner and Lee Majors host the Sci-Fi Channel's Bionic Blowout, beginning Monday, November 13th at 9 p.m. Eastern.
A deal with the devil turns an antique store into a shop of horrors and leads to a series of terrifying mysteries. On Friday the 13th, the series. Coming up next on the Sci-Fi Channel.